Welcome everyone to the latest episode of The Testing Room, where three of the gaming industry's best video game consultants, who have never actually consulted on a video game, bring you new topics each and every week. As always, I'm Alex, aka The Godfather.
I'm Christian, aka Sudoku45.
I'm Preston, a.k.a. Funkadelic Jedi.
Yeah, and this week we will be bringing you the final part of our Space Marine playthrough, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But before we get to that, let's kick things off like we typically do. We'll join Preston over in his corner.
Yeah, no comments on the YouTubes or Instagrams, but I did get a text. Listener Steph, a good friend of mine, she wanted to give you guys a shout out, mainly Alex, saying that she has loved Lorelei and Laser Eye. She just finished it up. She loved it.
Yeah.
She actually loved it. Which follows up with a question for her. If you guys have any indie puzzle game recommendations like Lorelei, I'm here for it. Something that doesn't have high graphic requirements so I can put it on a lesser PC. That one was a perfect level of difficulty for me. The last puzzle game I played before this was Talos Principle, I think, so I'm sure there's some good ones out there that I haven't seen.
There's that Oberdeen. What is that one?
Oberdin is like a
Oberdin.
Return of Oberdin. That's like a murder mystery game. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
really like a puzzle game. Because I thought the same thing as like Inscription. Like my first thing was Inscription. I was like, it's got puzzles in it, but it's not really a puzzle game, so it could be a little bit different.
Would Chance
I
of
was gonna
Sonar
say-
be a good one?
So Chance of Sonar, definitely one.
haven't played.
I would say the other one though is if you played Talos Principle and liked it. By the way, fantastic game. You definitely should check out the sequel. Talos Principle 2 fucking owns. So
Yeah.
that's
Chance of Sonar would be a good one too, but Chance of Sonar will be just language puzzles. So like where it depends on what you liked from Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, because there were like
A variety.
piece puzzles that you had to mix it with. There were word puzzles and number puzzles. It would essentially be like a lot of the number puzzles except words. I love Chance of Sonar, and Christian, I know you like it too, and I think that is pretty similar to like the mental puzzles you have to do to figure out the game. Like they're kind of on the same level. So Chance of Sonar would be a good one, but I'll have to check. I haven't
the
played
other
Talos
one
Principle. I know
that I would say is oh Jesus. Thank you. The other one that I would say is, and I'm blanking on the name now, so I'm looking through my Steam library to try to find it. But it's one that I talked to you guys about that came out right around the same time as Chance of Sonar, I think. But it was the camera puzzle game, like taking photos
Yeah.
and like superimposing them into the world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I forget that one
the
too.
game is fucking incredible, and I'm blanking on the name right now.
Should
It's
be on your Steam
gonna-
list, shouldn't it?
We can get back with
You
this
know how big
question
my Steam
too.
library is, fam?
Yeah.
I'm trying to scroll through it right
Do
now.
that. We're part of the family plan.
We can get back with this question too, because there was another puzzle game that I saw today actually as I was looking for like we're trying to decide what do we want to play as our next game. And there was a puzzle game that popped out and I was like, that actually looks interesting, I want to look into it, but I can't remember the name, so I'll have to go back and try and re-find what I saw. But yeah.
I'm gonna look in GG really quick.
Chance of Sonar is not a long investment either. So depending on the price, like you're not investing too many
Well,
hours.
well, Chance of Sonar, I think, is actually your mileage may vary because there's certain ones that I was like, yeah, this is super easy, and I knocked that puzzle out, and there's other ones where I was screaming at the screen, being like, "What are you trying to say to me?"
That is the difference in Sonar and Lorelei, which is like if you get stuck on a Lorelei puzzle, you can walk off and be like, okay, I'm gonna go figure out something else, and maybe it'll open up another area, maybe it'll give me a hint to this later, and I just didn't know it or whatever. Chance of Sonar has very defined like 6 levels to this tower, and if you get stuck on some letters and like I can't figure out what the syntax of this language is, you're just sitting there until you figure it out.
Yeah, dude.
But I didn't think anything was overly terrible in that game.
Yeah. Said maybe The Witness. That's the only. I don't play a lot of puzzle games. It's the only puzzle game I played like in the past.
Don't play The
5, 6
Witness. You'll get let down because you're gonna love that game. And you're gonna be like, oh, these puzzles are so good. I'm starting to see stuff in the
No,
world.
don't listen
and
to
then,
Alex.
And then you're gonna get to the end and be like, oh, I would love to just
There it is.
really beat this game, right? The final puzzle, and it is built to just piss you off.
No, he's just complaining about a platinum trophy. Viewfinder is the
That's
game
right.
that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Viewfinder is the one on Steam. or anything. It's super low into nothing crazy as far as system requirements are concerned. Definitely though, check out Viewfinder. That game fucking rules.
Okay.
Also, if your friend likes those sort of games like Lorelei, wants a real life version like a Hunt a Killer or something to do on a date night or a friend's night, right? Or over a weekend, like let me know because I have so many of those games. And like they're real life things, right? You get like puzzle boxes and they come with evidence and they come with a story and you have to figure out what happened. But Allie and I are really good. We only make notes on my iPad. So like everything is pristine. So like we don't ruin the game for anybody else if they were to open it up. Like all the evidence and stuff is fresh. So if you ever want to play one of those games in real life, let Preston know, and Preston can tell me, and I can send those things out because I have many of them, and we don't know a bunch of people that play them.
There was also a couple other comments because I listened to last week's episode, and Travis was posting all sorts of questions and saying that he wanted to get my take on certain things.
Your takes on the side quest topic we did.
Yeah, so I don't remember all of it, so I apologize, Travis. So I'll just go through the things that I do remember. First of all, Alex is an extremely hurtful individual that set out only to hurt my feelings.
That's not true. What did I say?
It is.
What I said
so that episode, by the way, opens with when that topic comes up. Alex's first words to the topic are, "I'm so glad Christian isn't here to talk about this." So,
but I think later on, I actually said I would have liked to have your opinion on it.
And it was only because you couldn't remember the names of certain Final Fantasy directors, and you wanted my encyclopedic knowledge for dumb shit to be here. So, I thank you, I suppose.
I knew I said I needed you for something, though. So there's that.
Just to remember names of Japanese men that mean nothing to nobody. So I think, in general, I will say out of the whole topic, I thought everything was really good. I don't think that Final Fantasy falls into the overall bucket of hey, let's wrap it up. It's too much.
It's not a sequel series, right?
And I think they're each so different. And there was one point where I think Alex was the one who was like 1 through 6 are basically the same game. That's not true. Just for anybody listening, that's just not the case. They even have different gameplay mechanics. The only thing that's similar between them is that they are part of the turn-based genre. But if that's the case, then fucking, so many of these 11 and 14 might as well just be the same game. Even though they're not. So I don't think it falls in that trap. What I do think it falls the trap of that Final Fantasy does need to figure out is Final Fantasy's problem is that for the longest time they were seen ever since 7 was actually really 6. Those were the games that were showing off what was currently possible at the time of whatever the hardware was that it was being made for. So
I think that held through 9 and 10 because 9 brought in the new FAA.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm saying it started with 6. Or started with 7 or 6 depending on who you are. But
got it.
In general, that's where it started, right? So going forward from that, it was just pushing the envelope as far as it could go to show this is what's currently possible with this machine, right? 10 is a great example of that. 12 ends up being a great example of that.
11 was actually a pretty good example of that, too, if you were talking about the network capabilities.
Absolutely, right? So for the PS2's life... So here's the thing, though, is that by and large, and this is not to disparage 16 at all, because I think 16 is a phenomenal game. By and large, though, the jump between, let's say, a 9 and a 10, or a 10 and a 12, is not the same from 15 to 16. We have gotten to the point where there's diminishing returns on a lot of graphical leaps that happen nowadays. And so these games end up costing them $1 bazillion to make. And Final Fantasy 16, they said, they put out a statement I think last week that it was something along the lines of 16 it sold extremely well, but it still did not hit Square's internal metrics for
Square has fucked
their
up metrics.
their classical metrics for what these games should do. Because if you remember, like 9, 10, 12, people bought those games just for the tech spectacle. Like, there are people who have never finished not a single Final Fantasy game in their entire lives, but they own them all just for the new shiny.
I bought 13 because it looks really fucking good.
That's a great example, right? Like, there's people who do that all the time. And Square counts on those numbers to recoup a lot of the costs that, you see. So I think Square's in the position where they have to figure out what Final Fantasy means going forward, because it can't be this giant tech spectacle anymore, because there's only so far you can go.
Yeah.
Like, I truly think 16 is probably... Whatever happens after 16, you might get a game that could look marginally better, but as far as the PC version of 16 is concerned, whenever 17 comes around, if you put both those games side by side, you'll go, yeah, like, this is a little bit better, but, like, nothing that's going to make somebody go, like, whoa, 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 you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be what it is. So they have their own problem. Otherwise, I thought there was tons of games that you guys mentioned, I think, that totally fit that mold. Like, yeah.
Question, though, about the Final Fantasy thing. Because I think we touched on it a little bit before we went off the rails of, like, we agree, it's not a sequel series, so it's a little different. But how do you personally feel about the current state of Square, where everything is kind of derivative? There's rumors of the 9 remake, there's rumors of either a 10 remake or a 10 sequel, which will probably be a sequel, right? And of course we know the 3-piece of 7 Rebirth, and it seems like they're putting a lot of focus into those remakes and less into the individual 16s, and I think you're going to see more of that since 16 didn't do the numbers. So, like, what's your feeling on that in terms of, like, the Final Fantasy series?
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, too, right? Is that, I think the biggest problem is that Final Fantasy... Oh, I don't even think this is a uniquely Square problem. I think most companies are having this problem now. Like, Sony's probably the biggest offender in general. But there are... The games business has to come to terms with its own pricing model as far as what it costs to make games, and is that sustainable anymore or not? Like, indie games right now are the only source of, like, truly new, innovative ideas that you might not have seen before, or are a mashup of genres that you might not seen before. Very rarely do we see that in the AAA space, and when you do, you usually see it punished, right? Like, Hi-Fi Rush is a great example. Like, they got saved, luckily, but, like, dude, you see fucking Hi-Fi Rush come out, and there's not really anything like it, and that studio got a big old fuck you. Like,
they also got saved, like, months and months later, so who knows who's even left other than, like, the...
Right. I think they said that most people who didn't already have a job, all of them came back. So I think in that particular instance, it's good. But yeah, man, I mean, like, look at, Arcane Austin, right? Like, these are the people who made fucking Prey. Like, they brought Prey back. Like, they did all of this stuff, Dishonored, all this other shit. Microsoft forces them to make that fucking vampire game, whatever the fuck it was, Back for Blood or Dawn for Deadfall. And Redfall, yeah, whatever it was.
Back for Blood.
Well, that is a game that Microsoft made, but it wasn't that one.
Yeah.
But and they got canned. It was a game that they didn't want to make, and they got fired for it. So, like, I think Square's problem right now is that you have games that right now, your average consumer is not running out and buying games for the tech spectacle anymore or anything like that. They're buying games that they know are going to work for them in some way, or that go viral for whatever reason.
Do you think part of that is also because to get the tech spectacle, you have to have the best, right? And the Xbox Series X is a lot more expensive. Well, not a lot, but is more expensive than the Series S to do the same thing, or the PlayStation Pro is
potentially
so
yeah.
expensive.
I mean, there's that,
right?
but also like I think that you keep seeing consoles come out like there was never there's the disparity right now is bad enough that like when people go to like launch some of these games, like dude, they even said it during the launch of the PS4 Pro. Sony was like, we have the data. 78% of players, when given the option, always select performance mode. They would rather have worse graphics that run at 60 than pretty graphics that run at 30 or like shit. And so, but then he goes on in the next sentence to be like, so anyway, look at these pretty graphics. And you're like, bro, what is happening? And I know you're a smart guy, but like, Jesus Christ, like, you just said, so what are we doing here? And I think the biggest problem though is that you're going to run into, or Square's going to keep running into this because the reason people are going back and looking at 7 Remake or 1 and 9 Remake, please don't do that, just leave it alone. Or, going back to like old re-releases of games is because they know what they're getting. And so they're like, cool, I don't have to worry about this sucking or pissing me off in any sort of way or whatever. And I don't have to wait for the review cycle or anything like that. It's 7. I know I like 7. I'm here. I'm on board. I like Cloud. I like Vincent. I like Barrett. I like Yuffie. I like Tifa. Let me in, right? Like, you just do the thing. But with, like, 16, it's largely unknown. Like, you don't know what you're getting into. And then you get reviews, right? And then the reviews are like, they score really well, but you still have people who are like, this isn't what I like about Final Fantasy, just whatever, right? Like your personal taste, thing, and you get burned or people feel burned, whatever. You also have people that only look at games that get big off of streaming and like for reviews and stuff like that, right? Like Alex, I think you made this point in the last week's episode, which was streaming has ruined video games, and you're not wrong. But I think that it's because, like, I think it's just a byproduct of social media, and it's not even necessarily, like, and when I say, like, streaming, I don't mean, like, your average run-of-the-mill, like, variety streamers that are just hanging out playing games, right? Not a big deal. We're talking about, like, the top 0.0001% of people, but have...
And the communities and culture they build around that. That's...
Right, and it's like... Hey, the only games you need to worry about are the ones that I'm playing, because those are the viral ones. Those are the ones that are hot at the moment. And when I move on from a game, it's time for everybody else to move on from the game and do that, right? So, like, we've talked about, like, other content creators that we like on here before, stuff like that. We're not, like, regular people are not doing this. And even, people that have it as their day job are not doing this. It's really those, like, you could probably name, like, the top 10 Twitch streamers, and it's probably those are the ones that you're talking about. Like, these games are never going to get big like that because that's what people want. People show up, want somebody to tell them what to play, and then they get to go play it because games cost $70 fucking now, and it's an investment that not a lot of people want to jump into, which I get, which is why the indie space is so huge, because you've got all of these indie companies that are like, oh, we're doing this sick idea that's really cool and really fresh, and it only costs $15. Well, now people are really easy to be like, I'll do that. I'll jump in there and check that out. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is that you'll see people Square is going to keep going back to the well, among other companies, are going to keep coming back to the well because it's less development time. Oh, a lot of that stuff is already there for them. And they get a massive return on investment because you get all these, like, fucking React people that are like, oh, fucking shit's Cloud. And then they fucking, everybody was like, it's time, I gotta go buy Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And, they go do it or whatever. And same thing with, anything else. Like, I think you even made this joke. If they ever did a 10 remake, they won't. But if they ever did a 10 remake,
I don't know why you hate me.
I don't hate you, but I'm just saying 10 isn't in the spot where it warrants a remake. Like,
give it time.
It might eventually get there, but right now, if you load up 10 on a PC and everything like that, that game still looks good.
Yeah, with all the mods I installed, it sure does.
That was the other thing. I'm so proud of you for installing mods and doing that. That is, I'm very happy for you. That is very cool. Because the way you were described is like breathing new life into an experience that you know like the back of your hand. And I was like, I'm so proud of him. I was like, he hurt my feelings by saying he didn't want me here, but I'm so proud of him for doing that. But yeah, 10 right now, like even unmodded, that intro scene is still, still is incredible. It still looks great. And I feel that same way about the remastered version of 12 as well. Anything on the PS1 is now at the point where you could look at it and people could go, okay, like we could go back and do some of this.
Well,
right?
we saw this week with Sony's State of Play. Yeah. Preston, I think you said it, right? It was like
half of them are PlayStation 1 games.
Yeah, it's PlayStation 1 release announced.
I think that and I'm sure that'll come up in our weeks here.
Pulled Lunar out of their ass. Like, who the fuck
Bro,
was even thinking about that game? Like, some guy was like, you know what we could do.
That's really all I had. Okay, first of all, I won't accept Lunar slander on this show, but also you've never played it and you don't know anything about it, so
no
there's no
one
reason
has played
for you
it. It's such an old game and no one played that.
Fuck you! There's
you are
so
one
many
of the few people who play a lot.
No.
I've never heard Lunar outside of you.
Be careful.
Okay.
He'll probably reach over to his shelf and pick it up.
I will. But also, I do. But also, you don't play JRPGs at all. There's plenty of JRPGs that you don't know. There's plenty of JRPGs that you don't know that I could get Alex to even know. You just never paid attention
Lunar
to that genre.
Also, I appreciate...
Lunar is a niche title.
I appreciate that very subtle knock of like, Alex plays slightly more than you, but still not enough, right? So like, I could say some that like even Alex would know, but
whatever.
I wouldn't know anything.
Anyway, but yeah, we can just move on to that because with Travis, it was a great topic. I thought it was really good.
Good topic. Thank you.
It was.
Yeah. I think one of the ones he said was like Metal Gear Solid, maybe.
We talked about
yes, you're right. Yeah, it was. I agree with him that it died after Kojima left.
Yeah.
That was really. I think. Yeah, that was really the only one that I wanted to bring back up. Anyway, yeah. So State of Play, man, that was the most roller coaster show I've ever watched.
It was good.
With my week because I started it and I was like, damn, they are just bringing out PS1 games left and right that I care about and bringing them back. Yeah. I was like, this is sweet. And they're like, anyway, great that that's done. Here's Dragon Age. It looks like shit. So
Vanguard, dude. Every time I see Vanguard, and I may have said this.
I thought it was Veilguard.
I thought it was. Yeah, I think you're right. Veilguard, not Vanguard. Yeah. I think you're right. It's not Dreadwolf.
It doesn't.
That's all that. It's not Dreadwolf. That's all that matters, right?
Well, I thought, but it is. It's just they changed the name. But yes,
I'm just saying it's not Dreadwolf anymore. So
yeah.
I think I may have said this about a game last year. I don't remember, but like this is one of those games where every time I see something about this game, it makes me care less. Like the more I see, the less I care, which is not the way you want to trend at all.
I even told Preston
you can't play your companions, right? Like there's something they're like, oh,
yeah,
you have all these companions, but like you can't
have them do an action through the slowdown.
Yeah, that's it. You just press their button.
I'm not defending it.
I even told Preston, I was like, dude, during this demo, it runs like shit.
Yeah, because they're playing on a PlayStation 5, man. The only time that the game's gonna run good or look decent is gonna be on a PC. Otherwise, fuck it.
And I even said, I doubt that. I bet you it still runs like shit on PC because it's probably optimized like awful. But who knows? Maybe it'll be good, or it'll run well. But I was just watching it. Can I say it not only did it run like shit, but it committed one of the worst sins in showing your video game off that I think we have to talk about this.
Okay.
If you start a combat sequence with an enemy and you're showing everybody what's happening and you have to cut away because it takes too much time to get from what you initially showed to the interesting part later on in the fight.
And you just see that health just like inching down, like, yo, this boss. And then they defeat the boss. Well, kind of. They get down to certain health and it falls down. And then the boss just gets up and goes, does something like, that is the most slap you in the face. I'm like, I hate that game. It's like, let's fight the boss. I get the boss all the way down. The cutscene happens, boss gets up and goes do something else. I'm like, no, that life bar went down. Like, that's not how this works. I was so like, fuck that game.
Like, dude, it cut away, and they might as well have said, anyway, let's cut out the fluff here and get to the point where the cool stuff happens. And I'm like, if you have to do that, this is a problem.
There's 45 more minutes of like just boring ass combat.
Yes, you already have failed what you should be doing here. And so there was that, like the cutscenes were like stuttering and everybody was like, bah, bah, and I was like, oh God, like just
The frame rate was bad.
what?
Yeah.
I got so mad, dude. I was like, what happened to this fucking franchise that used to be good? Like
The company changed.
So-
yeah, it's not the same company anymore.
I know, yeah, but there was that, and then I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I think they just showed a bunch of other stuff that I mostly
Legacy of
didn't
Kane's
care
coming
about.
back with a remaster collection.
Yeah, that was cool. Yep, that was dope. I think the rest of it was like every VR game they showed. I was like, yep, I guess that's the platform still.
Metro game
Like,
without Artyom. Fuck that. I'm not playing that. Why would I play that?
Oh, did they announce a new Metroid? I didn't see that one.
New Metro with it's the VR
Metro,
thing.
I mean,
they
not
showed
Metro.
they showed
Metro.
a teaser at I think the
Oh,
Game Awards.
yes.
But this is more like in depth,
We-
and it's like, oh, they're calling character a different name. Like,
We've talked about that
Yeah.
that VR game before. Okay, I didn't know if because there were rumors that they were going to continue on that series. I know we finished the third game. We talked about
Yeah.
that, but
it's got the name.
that's a choice. The VR is a choice.
Yeah, it sure is.
You know,
Yeah.
I will say this about Metro. I'm sure if you play that game, if it's the same company, they will nail the ambiance.
Yeah.
So if
They're
you're
probably
trying to
fine.
get this
Oh,
like
yeah.
creepy world of Metro in a
Oh,
VR,
they showed a bunch of trippy shit in there. Yeah.
I bet that's probably pretty good.
It's just funny because it's just like it has nothing to do with RTM or anything like that, and so I think it's like I'm sure they'll tie it in somehow
Yeah.
as like a little side thing, but yeah,
Someone
I
will
don't
say
know.
his name.
It was but yeah, it was like this show where it was like they front loaded it, and I was like, damn, this is all dope, and then at the end it was like, anyway, remember us being annoying? Yep, here's the rest of the show. Like they're like, look. Horizon's getting remade again, and you're like,
Did they announce the Horizon Lego thing?
They
Yeah, they showed it
did.
out there. Yeah, they didn't announce it there.
I
It's
just-
been announced, but they showed more.
yeah, it was, but they doubled that up. It was literally back to back. It was here's Horizon 1 remade for PS5 or remastered for PS5. So now it's on the same graphical settings as fucking 2, and they were like, also, right next to it, here's Lego Horizon. You're just like, I was
Here's
looking at
my
the screen. I was
question.
like,
What game is going to come out the same day that Horizon remaster comes out?
I
What big game is going to take away all the attention
That's
away from that
true. It
fucking
keeps-
remaster?
yeah.
Because it'll happen again. It did it every
I
time.
have to look. I'm sure it's already scheduled, but
Well, they don't do
I'll
a
have to
date for
look.
it yet. I'm
that
not
that
sure.
to me shows that they don't understand. Like the Lego people don't understand what people love about those games. Like the thing that make those games great are when you take movies, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, like things that don't really have a video game
Big IPs,
aspect
yeah.
to them. And yeah, take the big IP and serious movies at times, and then give them the goofy Lego like twist. But like taking a video game and turning it into another video game, like that's
Amen.
that's weird. That defeats the purpose. Like
It was
a
never gonna-
choice. Someone made it.
Yeah,
it was a choice. Like it's very odd.
yeah. And then they dragged out the PS5 Pro, and Mark Cerny was like, "Look,
Colors.
I did it. It's we're here."
Did they
again."
show the chroma colors?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, they did that, and they showed like 15 shots of Final Fantasy Rebirth, and it's like,
the
look,
only
it's
footage they gave
enhanced
out,
for the
yeah.
PS5 Pro. There was some other games too.
I've seen
Like-
plenty of side by side enhanced versions, and like 10% of the time you can see a difference. Other times,
Oh,
you're
I
just like,
watched.
okay.
Digital Foundry has a video of the Final Fantasy one, and you can tell. I mean, it's obviously there's blurriness in the original, and there's super crisp, clean looking textures and shit on this one, but it's like still like, okay, you have that on
Here's my
PC
thing.
now.
Yeah, here's my thing. I think
I'm paying $700 for fucking console.
So
Yeah,
it's gonna be
dude,
more.
like-
It's gonna be more than 700, especially if you want that 90s
No.
It's
edition.
discless. You have to pay another fucking 100 for the disc.
If you
Yeah,
want that
it's-
90s edition, you might as well go on eBay and pay $1,000, if not
30th
$2,000
anniversary.
right now.
Yeah, the regular PS5 Pro is $699, and then it's like Press said, it's like $100 if you want to bolt on the disc drive.
I know it's 7. I was saying that it was just scalpers and other.
Oh,
I'm just
yeah.
saying
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
going
It's
to end up
another-
paying
yeah,
more.
thing for
Yeah,
them to do.
yeah,
But I mean, like, man, the thing that kills me about the PS5 is I'm just looking at this and I go, but who's this for? Like, you're
Great
at the
question.
point now when you launch things at $499, you are competitive in that is cheaper no matter how many people say it is or it's not. It is cheaper in every single aspect than buying a PC. It just is. If you were trying to get a PC that will last you for the length of a console generation, it's way more than $500, especially when it comes to getting all the ancillary stuff like a desk and monitors and a keyboard, all that shit. So people who try to tell people that, like, oh, you're already at $500, just build a PC. No, it's not the same. $700 though, you're getting there. You're close enough that you're like, well, if you've already saved up $700,
You probably
What's
got a
it cost?
PC that maybe not be high
Yeah.
end, but you tossing $700 at it, or maybe just a little bit more than that, is gonna get it somewhere.
and so you're just you're at $700, and I'm just like, man, I'm sorry, but I have a hard time, and $800 if you want to go with the disc, which why wouldn't, like, I mean, whatever, but $800 there, and you're like, dude, well, okay, if you're at $800, I mean, fuck, dude, you're almost all the way there to getting a PC that could do what the PS5 can do already. So just, like, take that extra step. And also, these pro things are always like the mid step. So, like, if you get in now, cool, whatever. But then, like,
PS6 will be here
You're
in the next
ba-
5 years.
yeah, and you're signing yourself up to just try to get that again. Like, you're just giving them money for no reason. Like, they're going to be handing you incremental benefits for a massive premium price. Like, it just, yeah, I don't know. I hope they sell nothing of these, but that won't be the case. So
yeah. It's.
Scalpers will get them.
I'm also with you. Like, I don't understand who this is for. And the thing is, like, your most successful game this year was the new Astro game, which doesn't require the power of a PS5 Pro to do, right? Like, it doesn't even. It honestly could be done on something less than the PS5, honestly, because it's like it's pretty, but it's kind of cartoony. So I think you're also kind of missing the point. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
Oh, I mean, the part of that stuff is like these decisions. I mean, you know what it's like working for a big ass company.
Sure.
Like, it's some of these decisions are in the pipeline forever ago. Like, I don't think that I think that they should have seen it coming, but Sony did not see Concord fucking bombing like that after it costing them $1 bazillion to develop over 8 years. Like, you don't see that coming, but or they didn't see that coming.
Some of the devs seem to have seen that coming. To be fair,
I
from
think
the
that there's a
reports
lot
coming
of
out.
people. I think there's a lot of people that could have seen this coming if they just used, I don't know, their eyeballs. But, like, who knows?
So, question before you move on to your like gaming week, while we're kind of on this state of play topic, I do have a question for you guys. Did you see the news that Assassin's Creed has been delayed to 2025?
Yep, I did.
I did.
Yes, right. I thought we did. I think that popped up in the Discord chat that I saw.
I saw it. Yeah.
Okay. How do you feel about that? I know you don't care because you don't play Assassin's Creed, but like, how do you feel about that from just an industry or like that franchise perspective? But also, more importantly, what do you think they're doing that has delayed the
So,
game?
I think this is just tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. I think they delayed it because they have had such weird negative press around this game that has to do with the main characters.
Or even the world itself, for that matter, as far as like accuracy with.
Yeah, which
what
I
comes
think
from
is
what
mostly,
country and
which I think is almost all of it that I've seen is supremely unwarranted.
all around
which is-
Yusuke, right? Isn't that the guys?
Yeah, dude. Like, can I just say? And
He's
I,
a black samurai from Africa. which is a historical figure.
Yeah.
Right.
So clip this, whatever. I don't care. But like, the fucking dorks online that are yelling about Yusuke and the historical accuracy. Blah, blah, blah. This is a game series where you fist fight the Pope. Shut up. Like, absolutely go fuck yourself.
In Odyssey, you fought Medusa. You could fight the Minotaur and the Labyrinth.
Even the ones that were trying to be like, when Assassin's Creed was like, look at all of these historical things we've created. Look, here's Leonardo da Vinci. Blah,
you
blah,
fly
blah, blah,
around
blah.
on those flying things. You throw
Yeah.
little bombs from the sky.
Yeah, you know, those things that totally happened, except that they didn't. And that's the game that I was like, you fist fight the Pope in that one. Also, this whole series is predicated upon a guy who time travels back to his ancestors and takes over their bodies using some fucking crazy computer machine, and you have to fuck off. Absolutely go fuck yourself. Literally, just say you hate black people and move on. I don't know. Like, I stop wasting everybody's time. Just
So
be honest.
I'm glad
But-
you said that because I agree with you. I think maybe they're doing it. I think they're doing it because of the press, and maybe they're not touching it. They're just going to let the press down. I think they're going to do something to rewrite Yusuke's role
So-
and diminish it. So I agree with your tinfoil.
I was gonna say, so I don't know that they'll do that. I think that there's a chance, and if they do, I hope that Ubisoft doesn't sell a fucking copy of this game, because absolutely go fuck yourself. Like, I cannot, because if you give these fucking losers an inch,
Yep.
it will never end. You will hear every single time that we get a fucking female protagonist or a person of color or whatever, all you're gonna get is fucking the fucking wow, it's don't buy it, it's woke, blah blah blah. This word that they don't know what it means even to themselves. And like, woke is just shit I don't like, is basically where they're at. And what I hope is that they spend some extra time really polishing it and making it look like super duper ultra pretty, so that when it comes back, they'll be like, yeah, look, we fixed, like, we put some extra time in and it looks great, and then everybody can just, you know, eat a dick. But my current thought process,
But you know it's Ubisoft, so you know that's not going to happen.
yeah, I know what it is. In my heart, I know the answer is
Okay.
they're doing it because they can't take this press anymore.
Yeah.
When the real thing is, just fucking, these guys, they weren't going to buy your game anyway. It had a woman in it already. So they weren't going to buy it because she's not dressed like the fucking lady from Stellar Blade. So move on. It doesn't matter. You were never going to get their business in the first place because you put a woman in regular clothes. End of story. So just put Yusuke in there, who's cool as fuck, by the way. Like, so yeah, that's my opinion on it.
I think they're doing the same thing. I do. So that's all.
Do you think the same thing, Preston?
Yeah, that and like maybe some historical accuracies. They're probably having somebody go through that with a little bit finer tooth comb after some things have been called out recently. Not recently, but like over the history of us knowing it's being developed. There's been plenty of stuff going, well, this and that. It's kind of like Yusuke is one thing, but like there's been like flags of like different clans or whatever that are like out of touch or like not misplaced within this. It's like maybe you just, if you're going to do historical things, maybe you should, you know, take a little bit more time and find the proper things to put in this location in this time setting, rather than putting in something else. Or just it's just they're probably looking at over, and then not to mention just jank and stuff that they're fixing is probably all over the fucking place. So,
Oh, I'm sure.
And I agree with you. Like, there's certain things that I've seen where people have been like, "Hey, I'm not one of those people, but like this is something that I noticed. This isn't a thing. Like, it shouldn't be here. You know, whatever, right? Like, that's fine." Even there, I'm like, I get what you're saying, but this game is not about historical. The series is not about historical
but there's small
accuracy,
things to where
you know
it's
what I
like
mean?
you could just be a little bit more graceful
Totally.
with it. And also, I've been playing Star Wars Outlaws made by Ubisoft. They probably saw the reaction of its release and going, maybe we should take some more time with this game before we release our Assassin's Creed game.
That reminds me, there's one thing that I wanted to talk about because, you know, this is how my brain works. when you guys were talking about Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty on like yearly cycles and all that other stuff, and Travis said that he didn't know if they were on yearly cycles anymore. They are. They're the way that they get around it not being on a yearly cycle anymore. Like Call of Duty's thing is that they have 3 different teams that take 3-year cycles.
Yeah. Right.
So a game comes out every year, but each Call of Duty game does take it is 3 years in the oven. And I think Assassin's Creed now is 2 teams that they rotate, so every game is 2 years now.
It's hard to tell with Assassin's Creed because they've also, I mean, they've restructured the way they do it, right? Because they released like, the mobile version or whatever, and like they have 2 different timelines going on. But still, to the consumer, it's still a yearly cycle.
Yes,
because,
that's what I was saying. It's like they're like it's not like sports games are truly yearly, and they only get a year in the oven, and that's it. Whereas like Call of Duty can still look like Call of Duty because it has 3 years in the oven. It's just 3 different teams are working themselves into the dust every 3 years.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say, and I'll let you get to your week, the one thing that we didn't mention that I'm actually excited about, the one samurai game I do want to play is the Ghost of Yokai. Or obviously that. The Ghost of Give me a Ghost of Tsushima
Great
sequel. The Ghost of Tsushima did not need a sequel, to be fair.
But this is how you do it.
But I will also give you money and play it. So
well, here's the thing.
It's the best way
is that I'm cool with like an anthology style situation where they're just like, yo, it's not going to be related at all, but it's going to be in the same kind of time period doing this thing.
type of gameplay.
You ain't going to hear a peep from me.
Yeah.
Because, I think that was the other thing was like, Christian prefers things that end like only one season or some shit like that. And it's like, I think
Says the Trails guy.
there are, yeah, right. Thank you. Like this,
no, Preston, that's different. Especially when it comes to show stuff, Christian likes an ending.
I think this is what I wanted to get at, which was I appreciate Preston being the only person defending me and my points of view on here during there because Alex was trying to lie and slander on my name. So, yes, I think that companies a lot of times are afraid to just let something end the way that it should, and they drag it out for far too long. Sony doing The Last of Us 18 fucking times is a prime example of that. Please let Naughty Dog do something else. I don't even care if I don't like what their next game is. Let them do something else. This is enough. We've had enough. For shows and other things, yeah, look, if it has a reason to go on that long, I'm in. We can do this. But very rarely do sequels justify themselves for whatever reason. And most of the time, it's just about to get money because they know that people are there. And you only end up disappointing people as it goes on. Everybody was like, oh, you go, it's always going to get better, blah, blah, blah. And then every single time we always come on this show or we hear other people and they're like, yeah, I don't know. I'm at the 5th season now and I'm just kind of like, meh, it's letting me down. It's like, yeah, I bet it fucking is because they're also letting themselves down. They should just let it have died when it needed to die and move on to something else. But yes, thank you, Preston, for bringing up Trails, though. That's a prime example of when things don't end, and I'm like, yeah, it's great because it keeps going, because it keeps being good. If it starts getting shitty, then I'll ask them to stop.
Do you want to go on with your week?
Yeah. So, as they mentioned, or as the boys mentioned in the last episode, it never got brought up in the D&D one that went out. I had the couple weeks from hell, and I was not doing anything. So my actual gaming week should be pretty short. I did manage to finish the story mode on Space Marine 2.
There you go.
Nice.
So shout out to that game. It's great. I want to. I've got to play some co-op missions with Preston. I want to keep doing that so we can finish it. Yeah, everything about that game is great. It's just exactly what you would want. I love it. It's awesome. The only other game that I've played, and Alex knows because he saw it, was... So I can't buy... I'm not buying any new games right now. My actual game that I wanted to go buy and play was UFO 50. That game just came out. It looks fucking awesome. I really, really, really want to go play that. But right now, with the move coming up and all sorts of other stuff, I do not want to spend money on games right now until all of that is, settled and accounted for. And Alex was talking about a game that he went back to like a warm bath. And I sent you guys a text the other day of a song, and I mean,
you also mentioned this when we talked about...
I did. I said, just derive whatever meaning you want from me sharing this song. Do with that what you will, whatever. And yeah, it's because my plan was the second I finish Space Marine 2, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna go back and play Kingdom Hearts 1. So I'm back in. And spoiler, that intro still goes hard. So there it is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna mess with that up until, I guess the idea will be if I finish it before all this stuff gets settled, then great. If I don't, whatever, I'll probably move on to something else and just let it sit there. But for right now, I'm just messing with it just to correct, because I don't want to jump into anything new while I got all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
That's about it. So, and then Preston, we played Left 4 Dead 2.
We did play some Left 4 Dead 2.
We went back the other night and with some friends, and it was my first time playing that game. I played the first one a little bit, but it was fun. It was a good time. The last mission was very hard. We got our ass beat.
Yeah, it's not an easy game. It's never been an easy game.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was it. That was my week.
I will go next because mine is probably equally short. Just because I've been doing shit for work as well and haven't had time to play too much. And again, I think I brought this up before, the game that I really wanted to play is now broken, and I can't play it. So, did I talk about this in the pod with Black Myth?
Yes.
Maybe not.
As far as it being broken,
Yeah, so Black Myth Wukong still broken. So I have gone back to Like a Dragon. I played Infinite Wealth while I was traveling a little bit. I continue to not progress the story because I'm an idiot. I have now cleared off all under the things for Kiryu of his bucket list diary, whatever you want to call it, thing you have to do. There's 3 different sections. There's a city section where you just talk to people, ride the train, run however much, and then there's a fighting section of punch people and do that. There's a gaming section of all the games. I'm down to all but 2 on the gaming section, and it is win at both tables at the Injincho Mahjong and win at both tables at the other Mahjong. And I've done it at the 3rd Mahjong. I just have to do the other 2. That's it. I've cleared off everything else. For no reason. Literally no reason. Check mark in the boxes. I'm almost at 10 with his health. Not his health, but his persona. There's 3 different meters you have to fill up that kind of give you the power and the skills and stuff. I'm at 10 on one, 9 and 3/4 on the other, and 9 and 3/4 on the third. So, yeah. I could quit doing these once I get to 10 because you kind of max out your character, but there's so many other things you get little gold checks for that will now give me nothing. I'm still probably going to do them. So I played that. No story, just side quests. I didn't have a chance to play Rogue Trader because unfortunately with that game, you do have to be able to invest a little bit of time, right? You can pick it up and put it down, but it's story, right? This dialogue, so you need to pay attention. And I wasn't able to really play it chunks, so I didn't play any of Rogue Trader. And one other game. I did play Dragon's Dogma 2 on my PC because Black Myth is broken. I wanted something to play on the PC. So I had a couple days before I had to travel where I played Dragon's Dogma. And that's all I've played. With that, Dragon's Dogma it's pretty. Mm-hmm. It's good. I'm playing it wrong, to be fair.
Okay.
I've been exploring a lot because you can go wherever you want, and that is the wrong thing to do.
Well, that's what I told you. It is and it isn't. You want to do that so you can discover all the quests. You want to run around and explore the whole map. It's just you have to be willing to get ready to run in certain situations.
Yeah, and that's not that's what I learned, right? So I would get myself into areas where everything was just kicking my ass, and it was just me and at the time it was just me and one other pawn. So you'd have up to 3. To have 4 total. It's just me and one other person. I created Shadowheart in that game because I can. So she's my pawn.
Fair.
Um, and there were a few times in the early stages where like I went off the beaten path and got stuck and was just getting ravaged by like little orcs because dude, there's no lock on, which is it's irritating, but it's not a big deal. Like I get it, but it adds to kind of the chaos of battle. And there's also not like at my level, not like a great like block system. Like I can guard, I can pull up my shield, but these little orcs are wild. Like they just run and they just jump like in the air and just like throw their bodies at you like cannonballs. And my little like shield does nothing. So if a bunch of them start hitting you in a row, like I was getting screwed. So
now
I spent an hour learning to run.
But you did get all the way to level 14 without buying a single skill.
Yeah, there was that. There's that.
So there's a little bit that's like, you know.
Christian was telling me, like, I finally made it back to this big town where I, like, started to do stuff. And Christian's like, hey, go over here. Like, let me show you where you get skills and whatnot. And I was like, hey, all these points up here, is that, like, what you kind of get to start off with? Or is that, like, what I just earned exploring for 14 levels? Like, that's just what you've earned.
Yeah, and you didn't spend a single... Yeah,
okay.
Alex went from having... Alex went from having 0 skills to, like, fucking,
bunches.
like, 18 all, like, right in a row. So, yeah, there was a little bit that was... He was playing on ultra hard mode when
I was
saw
playing
him.
with, like, an art... So, Shadowheart was an archer, and then the other two I got were, like...
You got my pawn.
Yeah, I got Alexa. It was like an archer, and then what was the other one I had? Like 2 warriors and 2 archers or something.
Yeah, you had 2 warriors and 2 archers, which was like worst team comp ever.
We're getting smacked up. So Christian's like, "Go get a sorcerer," and I got a sorcerer, and then all of a sudden, like, I'm being healed constantly. And
your weapon's like, getting turned on fire, so you can set things on fire now. And he's like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "Dude, the video game fucking changes when you play it."
Yeah. So I played for quite a few hours incorrectly, but now I'm learning how to play it. So that game's fun. Like, I if I were giving one of those Steam reviews, like my Steam review would be like, picked up a person and threw her against a wall to knock down a ladder, like 10 out of 10. Or like got thrown off an enemy and Christian's,
got caught.
Yeah, Christian's Alexa like ran under and caught me so I didn't take damage. Like that was pretty cool, but so that's all I've done. Just Infinite Wealth and Dragon's Dogma. So it's been good.
Okay.
It's been good.
I'm very happy you started Rogue Trader, by the way.
Me too. Yeah, I am. I need to find those opportunities to actually sit down and play it for some chunks.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like Christian said, played some Left 4 Dead 2, some Space Marine 2. Left 4 Dead 2, still as good as it was. Just nice having a game to play with a bunch of people. It can be frustrating, especially towards the end of some of that stuff. I was playing on Steam Deck. I'm like, next session, I'm definitely gonna get a keyboard and mouse for this because it's not as accurate as I want it to be. So let's get that taken care of.
It's also not optimized yet, is it?
Oh, probably
Left
not.
4 Dead
no.
2? No, Left 4 Dead 2? Yeah, it is.
Oh,
well, it's
you were playing Left
optimized,
4
but
Dead.
there's no
I'm sorry.
assist or
I thought
anything.
you said Space Marine. I thought you said Space Marine.
Oh,
Space
yeah.
Marine has not. Yeah, Space Marine is not submitted for Steam Deck yet. That is a play at your own risk, but it has. They have said multiple times that version is not ready till the end.
That
of
is
the year.
meant for beefy machines for sure. So those two, still playing some more Zenless Zone Zero. They got a new season out. I did not get Jane Doe through the pulls. Kind of disappointed with that, but that's okay. There's a new story chapter for this one. I finally finished up all the chapters of the story that we had, the first 3. And then now there's a 4th one for this one where we're going to like the outer territories with biker gangs and shit. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. I just started that up today. I'm super excited.
Can I say that last week when you were talking about Zenless Zone Zero and you were explaining like the pity roll system to Travis, I believe, or something like that.
Small pity, hard pity. Yeah.
I don't know because I didn't see the video version because I was driving at the time, so I was just listening to the audio. I have to imagine that the same grin I had on my face when I was driving, Alex had the exact same one while he was listening to you talk about it. Because I was like, man, you are...
I'm in. But I'm not as in as some people are because we have that other group in Discord.
You're right.
And those guys are like, I don't know if they play a lot or if they just dump a whole bunch of money into this thing, but like I am not able to get
I think one of them
often
one of them has like 6 burner accounts that they use to like roll on to get what they want.
But you can't
trade.
You can't trade or merge though. They just want that
so
character, so they'll play that account when they want to play that character.
Yeah, something along those lines.
But also, you
Yeah.
can't like share accounts either because like I tried to play, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm PlayStation 5. I'm just going to do that while I'm sitting here. No, there's a separate account for PlayStation 5. You cannot just say I don't want to log into my normal account. Like no, there's accounts for different versions. So like you can't even like I can't even use my account on my PS5 from the PC.
I thought that mobile syncs up with one platform. Like I felt like
Mobile
PC
might.
and mobile sync. Yeah.
But PS5 does not. No. So, but I'm still liking the game a lot. The story's been great. It's been fantastic. I love the new area that we're at now. So I'll have more to report on that when I play more of it. But I put $20 into it. That's all I've put into it so far. I'm not putting any more. I was doing the math. I was doing the math
how
super
far
hard.
away? Yeah,
was-
how far away were you on Chained Dough?
So I did get the first hard pity, but I didn't get the character I wanted. It's a 50-50 banner, but there's still that other 50%, so I got a different character. Good character. It's just I don't care to use that character. But so yeah, it's a 50-50 banner, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting close. I'm like, I was like 30 away, because you can still get that. Once you get that hard pity, even below 30, it'll reset your counter. So as soon as you get that S rank character, it's like, okay, we'll reset the counter. Because I thought I was going to be
Oh,
up.
so like if you go 50-50, then you're back to 0. So you got to go 100 times again.
So the percentages don't change until you get closer to the end of that hard pity. So I was excited because I knew I had about 20 pulls before the quote unquote a hard pity, right? The guaranteed one. I did the first 10 pulls and I got an S rank character. I'm like, oh sweet, I get 2 S rank characters like within this time frame. Great. And I did I'm like looking and I'm like, oh, it just went back to like 80. I'm like, fuck. And I found out through the friends that it was like, okay, yes, it's once you do get that S rank, it just resets it anyways, which is kind of shit. But you know, it's what it is. What it is. But I was doing it. I'm like, okay, I'm playing as much as I can. I'm playing during works like that. I'm playing on my off time, you know, and I'm getting close. I'm got down to about 40 to 30 pulls for a hard pity. And I'm like, all right, Preston, let's do the math. How much would it cost me to get these 40 rolls? I'm like, I could do 30 and just see if I get it like I did last time. But like, it would have cost me like $50 I'm like, nope, we're not doing this. It's not worth it. It's like I'm not putting that kind of money into it. I know it's a free-to-play game. People put $70 on games. I put $70 on games. I just paid $70 for Space Marine. But I'm not going to do that to a free-to-play game.
Space Marine 60, you paid 70 for Star Wars Outlaw.
I paid top dollar for both those games. I'm not going to dump $70. Not to mention, it's not a 100% guarantee that you'll get that character. So if I spent another $40 and dropped it on there and didn't get that character, I would probably quit
can you
that
not
game.
can you not just buy the
if it was
character outright? Like, is that an option, just to buy the character?
Hell no.
What? I'm sorry. Yeah, no, you can't buy the character. So there is like a character select that you get after
It's gambling, fam.
300 or 400 pulls, but it's not for any. It's not for any of the special banner characters. Like these are special seasonal banner characters that you can just you can get possibility of a percentage that maybe you might get them, but the percentage is so low that it's
Alex, imagine going to a casino and then asking the person, "Sir, how much money do I have to put into this slot before I hit the grand jackpot?" He would be like, "I can't give you an amount. It'll just be, you know, if God loves you or not."
Yeah, pretty
That's
much.
it.
Yeah.
Like, but so my question was, so because I know they don't let you repeat characters, right?
So you can repeat characters in the sense that there are these things called mindscapes. Every character has, I think, 6 to 8 of them. And if you get a repeat of a character, it opens with that mindscape, which gives them a huge buff. So like you get 20% more damage, or like a higher, like a 50% chance of freeze, whatever. It makes the character better. But after that,
they have up to 8 of them. 6
or 8, yeah. So there's 3 characters that you had a 50-50 chance for. The 2 A ranks. One of them was Seth. He's like this cat dude, cop cat dude with like a shield. I got all of his mindscapes just doing that whole entire seasonal banner because they kept on giving them to me. So I'm like, fuck, I don't even play this fucking character, but got all the mindscapes for him. So I get a new little image of him, and he's buffed out all the hell as far as like the mindscapes are concerned. But if you get any more of him after that, is essentially you get a free roll. So like, if I got Seth like 2 more times, I'm like, okay, here's some of these tokens that you get. That's like, okay, well, we couldn't give you any mindscapes. You already got the character. Just go ahead and roll again for that one roll.
Yeah.
So
okay, that makes sense.
So you do you get tokens that build up to another roll, or do they just give you another roll?
So for that currency, they just give you another roll. But yeah, there are tokens that you get just playing the game that give you rolls, and you can.
I'm waiting
get
for the
tapes
day
to
where
rolls around.
Preston flies out to MiHoYo and he's like, "Look, guys, this is the slip to my car."
Slide them at the hundo. I'm like, you could just give me this character. No, I want to pay $100 for it. But yes,
here's my
really
car.
good.
What does that get me in currency?
So will Sexy Cyber Girl, is it cyber or sci-fi? Which one is this?
This is retro future. So it's you can call her Mouse Girl or whatever. She's got ears and a tail.
No, I'm not. It was just, nope.
Yeah, you won't get me online saying something like that.
So at what point does that Sexy Cyber Girl just become part of like the normal, like, if you have multiple characters?
I don't know. The game hasn't been out for
like,
long enough, so we don't know. She is a part of, like, you could still possibly get her. She still has a percentage. It's not like she's gone forever. But when she becomes a part of the selectable characters after your 300 to 400 fucking pulls or whatever, I don't know when that happens. I'm assuming that after certain patches and certain seasons, I'm like, okay, this one from 5 seasons ago, we're now going to start filing them into the normal banner, if you will, the normal section where you can do your pulls. So
and you said there's
cool.
the story, the new story, is it adding to an existing story? Or is it continuing on? Like, did you finish the story? Was there an end?
So I finished what's it called, Chapter 3, and that has you all to say. There's a guy you're chasing after. He's supposed to be part of a court case. He ends up escaping, and the end of that is like, okay, we saved these people in this area and this whole like debacle that was happening with these 2 ballet twin towers, which is awkward. But it left it open for there to be more story to continue on, right? So this is like, okay, he stole the blimp and he went off into the distance and no one could catch up to him. So now this is, we're going to essentially the outer rim. They're called them the outer territories, but it's the outer rim of this type of world. But he ended up crashing there, and the biker gang ladies found him and call you up like, hey, I hear this about this guy, and I know you were investigating, blah, blah, blah. So now you're going to hang out with all the Southern twang biker
continuing the story.
Yeah.
What is the population percentage of female to male in this world?
I mean, as far as just the population of normal characters altogether, not for the characters you play as.
Just total.
The characters that you play as, I would say male is 25, female 75. If I had to just give you a number off the top of my head right now. There are a bunch of cool male characters, like Lycan, like Hone is my favorite character, period. He's just a big wolf man, made dude, and he's got a lot of kickies. So he's fucking beating the shit out of everybody. He does DPS is fucking fantastic. I love him. He was my first S-rank character I got, and I fucking love him to death. I got really lucky with that one. Ben the Bear, he's pretty cool. I like him a lot. He's that big dude bear dude that you saw. He's got some chains. He works construction, and he's a defense character. I like him a lot. I use him here and there. I don't like the Deadpool type of character that they have. They give you for free at the beginning. I'm not a big fan of him. Like I said, I got the cat police boy. I haven't played around with him very much. I don't think no one has found a really good synergy with other characters with him.
How long will it take you to beat the new story?
I don't know. If I could guess, it takes a little while.
Does it?
5 to 10 hours, depending.
That's not bad.
Yeah. So if it's like the same other chapters,
Dude, from what I understand, man,
it's like a Destiny expansion.
but it's free.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is it's like I will say that like MiHoYo has really struck gold here. Like
they are doing it the right way.
Well, I don't know that I would go that far, but I would say that they have made a great game that is attached to a very predatory system that takes advantage of people with gambling addictions.
Oh, for sure.
Right? So like they're doing it the right way in that they're making a good video game. Like,
and you could play for free. Like there's nothing to hold you back. Like you don't have to pay money to get past a certain point, or you don't need this character to get past a certain thing. No, all those characters, you could use any of them and they'll work out just fine for you. You upgrade them, you can get through the game, no worries, and you do get plenty of characters just through the normal roles you get.
But let's be honest, nobody plays the game for that. People play the game to build their stable. Like you play the game to get all the characters.
Well, I think it's a mix, right? Like I think somebody like Preston
get the characters you want, or like the combos.
Right, like I think like there's somebody like Preston who I would say is the healthiest version of somebody who could play this game, right? Like You go, you're here for the game, you enjoy it, and
Maybe you
you're just
toss
here to
$28 on a rare
Sure,
occasion just to have fun
but-
and like get an extra pulls.
But just in general, you're just playing the characters that you like or that the game gives you.
Yeah.
And you're just there to experience the story,
It's all
the
super
art
high
style.
quality. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But they don't make money off of people like Preston.
They don't make a lot now.
They make money off of people who have gambling addictions that spend thousands of dollars getting every single thing that
Because
they
they
want
have to
and
spend
unlocked
to
because
build
they have
to build
to.
that stable, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what they want to do. They
Yeah,
want to
they
build
have
out
to
all the
do that.
characters. They want to
Yeah.
get everything.
If
Yeah.
you want all the characters, it's going to cost you a lot of money because the percentages and the ratios are not in your favor, right?
Yeah. And again, MiHoYo doesn't hide it. Like they
No.
tell you.
They give you the percentages right there up front. You press the thumbstick in and you get those fucking percentages. Like they let you know.
Yeah, so it's just it's one of those things that's like they are the kindest developer of this style of game out there right now. And so because of that, everybody has flocked to their games because they're like, "Oh, okay, I love this. I love gambling. I love everything that's happening here. So I'm gonna go to the one that will least fuck me over." And that's MiHoYo.
I find it so funny and disgusting that like every time you get that S rank character, but not the one you want, and like your percentage goes back up, somebody just laughs. It's like,
Oh yeah. See, here's the thing: is that I didn't.
it's
really,
working exactly like like
Yeah.
intended, right?
Lucky for me is like I never felt like the need. Like I need this character. Like Jane Doe, I was kind of feeling like I really like that character. Like outside of like just being sexy, double agent lady, like her character is actually very good as far as like she's a DPS. She does a fantastic job, and she would be good for my combination of team. But I mean, I'm looking at the new one. Like Caesar's there. She's big titty biker lady, and she's got a southern accent, and it's like it'd be cool to get her. I'm sure she's fun to play with, but like I'm not sitting there going like I gotta have that character. I'm like, no, I mean I saw that one. We had a one cut scene in one of the chapters to where it showed some of the not called Void Hunters. I think they're called Void Hunters. Essentially like the super badass people who go into these hollows, right? These like dangerous areas, like, and it was the girl with like fucking like a fox ears and tail, and she has a samurai sword. I think Christian even saw like the cut scene that she was in. That was super badass. But I thought I was showing it to you. But
No.
she's super cool. And I'm like, I'm waiting for her to drop because she would be the character that I would really. I think she is super cool, and I'm curious to see like what her build out is. But yeah, it's a good game. I enjoyed it a lot. If anyone wants to play it and wants to talk to me about it, feel free because I don't have a whole lot of friends that play that game. Let me know. Shout me out. Playing more Star Wars Outlaws. It's still a decent average game. The faces of all the NPCs are really pulling me out every time I play it. I'm like, because there's some times where I was like, okay, cool. I'm talking to Lando. We're doing this one thing. We're going to help out the rebels. And I'd go up to talk to somebody, and it's this fucking shitty looking PS3 face with like no expression. And I'm like, this. All right.
It's a Ubisoft special right there, baby.
Just
Makes you
doesn't-
really excited to spend the $60-$70 you spent, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, man, it's just everything else, the sound, the look of the environments, the space areas, like all that's fantastic. The gameplay is not bad. It's just average. But really when you get into there, and like luckily for me, like I said, the Star Wars, if you watch Star Wars, you're very used to prosthetic faces that don't have a lot of animation to them in the movies and stuff like that. So I'm okay with, the fish-faced person like just like kind of flapping their yapper a little bit and not really like raising eyebrows and shit. I'm okay with that. But when it comes to human characters, I don't want it to look like he has a prosthetic human face on, right? It's like I want to see actual emotion in there, especially when you're going through and it's your main character. Your main character's not really emoting. Like the voice acting is there. Like they're doing a good job with that voice acting, maybe outside of Lando, but they're doing a great job with doing voice acting. But man, are you just pulled out of it when you see her make no fucking expression on her face. It's just a bummer when it comes to that kind of stuff. And that's what keeps me from that's what keeps me playing Zenless over Outlaws when I sit down at the end of the night, is because I'm getting a lot of great story and a lot of character interactions there. I'm not getting pulled out of that like world and environment. It's all anime is bullshit, but I'm in that world. But when I'm playing Star Wars Outlaws, I'm in it until someone fucking starts talking and half their face is taking up the screen, and it's not meant to be like that. So it's unfortunate. I'm still playing it. I'm thinking that I'm close to being done, but we'll see. I'll report back. Still more KOTOR. I think Christian, you were right in saying that we only got a couple episodes left because I finished that Manon area. I finished that like underwater area in like 30 minutes. I remember that area taking fucking forever, and it's because it's very slow. But there's literally like 2 buildings in there, and they're very small. I'm like, oh shit. Like, okay, well, we're doing the unknown planet now, and I'm almost finished the unknown planet at the end of that last session. So
I was gonna say, I thought you might be closing in.
Yeah, that ending hits you a lot faster than I remember it. So, but yeah, it's great. We are on the unknown planet, the planet that you kind of crash down on while you're going to the Starforge. All I gotta do is go into that final temple, finish that up, and then we're off to the Starforge, and we're there at the finish line. So I'm assuming 2 to 3 more episodes or days of us doing that, and then after that we're on the Bounty Hunter Remastered. So
Nice.
ready to move on to something else. Yeah, we'll probably reach around average of 40 hours on KOTOR 1. So
It's
been a long play.
It's a big game.
And then lastly, I was having a hankering just for something small, something basic. And I started getting notifications that one of my wishlist games was on sale. And Blizzard Arcade Collection went on sale finally. It's like a $20 game.
Hey,
but they dropped it down
Preston
to like,
played Rock and Roll Racing.
I did. I got to play some fucking Rock and Roll Racing. And my God, I fucking missed that game. It's not like I had some rose tinted glasses. I haven't played that game in fucking forever. It's very basic, but it was a Super Nintendo and fucking Genesis game. Like it's nothing too crazy, but I had a lot of fun with it. They even have a like I guess you would consider it remastered version. But when they did the original Rock and Roll Racing, it was obviously it's a very odd way of playing it. To where it's almost like a top-down, like an RC racer kind of thing. It's not to where like you're holding on accelerator and you're going left and right. It's like you're holding on the accelerator and like you're turning your car in the direction that you see it on the screen. So like your car sometimes going down or left or up. Your car is not just sitting in front of you the entire time. So that took a little bit again getting used to. And the soundtrack on the original games was like 8-bit versions of. God, I can't even think of the songs off the top of my head now, but like pretty famous, well-known like rock songs like of like I think the 70s and 80s, and then the remastered version has like just the songs in the game. Looks a lot nicer, plays a lot better. The announcer is back for that as well. He's a really well-known announcer, and it's a good little update on there. Lost Vikings is in there. I forget the other odd Blizzard game back in the day. They have a nice little kind of background stuff for it as well. The documentary stuff is not as good as like something like Atari or something like that Atari collection that came out recently. But there are some, you get some images of behind the scenes of some of the stuff. I didn't know this, but apparently Blizzard was once going to be called Chaos Entertainment, but then they found out that somebody else already had that name. But they got images of like what their logo was going to be and like images of like other games and stuff like that with like the logo on the side. I'm like, that's kind of a nice little history of Blizzard I got to see. I didn't know about. So, but yeah, I played through I played through a good chunk of Rock and Roll Racing. And it's a lot of fun. There's a lot to it. And I do enjoy that game. Other than that, no more games. Agatha All Along started. It first, I think, 20, 30 minutes of the first episode I wasn't a big fan of, but after that, I think it really kind of takes its own, and it started being really enjoyable for me. Mm-hmm. And then you also have Penguin that started up on HBO. Very, very good. I like that way they started that off. It's just mobster gangster shit. No Batman running around. It's just fucking some straight up Gotham gangster shit happening. So it's really good. I like that a lot. I'm very curious to see. I'm looking forward to watching more of that. I think they're going to do a great job with that. So, but yeah, other than that, that's my weeks. That's the past 3 weeks for me.
I know, yeah, it has.
Well, with that,
been multiple.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Comic Headquarters. If you are looking for a trade paperback or hardcover, the guys over at Comic Headquarters can help. Even if they don't have what you're looking for, they'll offer to order it in for you. Visit comichqstl.com today, where you can contact them and order that trade paperback or hardcover that you've been looking for. Or give them a call at 314-433-5449. Let them know that the testing room sent you, and you can get 10% off your order.
Christian, you're up.
Do
So
it, Lars.
take us through the last part of this, Space
Do
Marine.
it. So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we left off on chapter 11
Yeah, we had
on
12 through
the
17.
last episode.
Yeah, I left off
We
on
had
chapter
12 through
12, but
17.
yes, that's because
Yeah,
I played a
right.
little too far.
Yeah. And then wanted to blame me for it. Yeah,
No,
so...
I want to blame the game for it, for not making it
Yeah.
obvious what chapters are.
Right, and not pressing the start button like I told you at the beginning. Yeah, so chapter 12 opens up with Titus and everybody's walking out after escaping the fight and at the end of chapter 11, and we get a giant shot of the warp gate above the tower there. And Sidonis says that if it's allowed to continue to grow, then Nemeroth is going to be able to get his whole fleet inside here, and that's going to obviously be bad news bears for everybody. And so Titus is like, yo, I have an idea. We'll take the power source, we're going to slam it into the Titan war machine, and we're going to have it shoot the tower and blow the whole thing up so that the gate closes. And everybody just goes, yep, that sounds like a great idea. Except as we were making our way about halfway through, Leandros decides that he's going to continue to be a huge dork and basically go like, hey...
Leandro sucks so bad.
Yeah. He basically starts whining and he's like, I'm pretty sure that you're a heretic because you were able to resist the power source, like the Chaos
The
Touch.
chaos, yeah.
And Sidonis basically looks at him and is like, yo, shut the fuck up. Like, if Titus was clearly like, we're already fucked. Like, we've already got an invasion happening, whatever. So this is probably our best shot for a plan. If Titus really is a heretic, then we're fucked anyway. So it doesn't really matter. Like, this is the best shot that we've got to go. And as we continue, the lieutenant calls, and she lets us know that the best way to get to the Titan is to use the rail network at her location that will just basically shoot us straight over there. So we make our way over to her and start fighting with some of the Imperial Guardsmen that are still there to defend an outpost. And as we are standing there, Titus realizes that the power has gotten broken off from all sentry guns, so he's like, all right, I'm going to leave. Everybody stay here. I'm going to get that shit turned back on, and then we're going to be good to go. So as we get everything all set up, we start making our way back to the squad, who shows back up. But I feel like I'm already forgetting his name, like Grim Wrench or something like that. I've played too many Warhammer. I've played too much Warhammer recently. But it's the orc war boss, the war chief. He comes down, and he makes no mention of how he survived his tumble with the Chaos Marine. But he's here, and we get into that fight, and we kill him, and we really give him the business. And after that, we meet up with the squad, and we hop on the rail line, and that takes us to Chapter 13. So Chapter 13 opens up with us in the facility, and the lieutenant basically is like, yo, all the orcs are fleeing now that the war boss is dead. Like, we have had no issues whatsoever. But as we make through the facility, we hear from the crew from the Invictus that the mooring clamps are still active on the Titan itself, and those have to get released before we can, start having it move forward to actually take the shot. So we power up the Titan, and we split off from the group again so that they can open up the doors for the Titan, and we can release the clamps and then start the whole supercharge sequence there. And even though we start, as we are protecting everything, the tech priest is basically just whining at us the entire time, being like, this is not protocol, we cannot do this. I've got to pray a bunch of times before I can even get it to accept this, blah, blah, blah. And Titus is like, yeah, shut up. It's getting plugged in now. Like, take the shot. I don't give a shit. And that's exactly what happens. We take the shot, and it is cool as hell. It blows up the tower just like we wanted. But it does completely wreck the Titan in the process. Everything's overheated and has to be repaired. And we basically go, well, good luck with that. That's no longer our problem. You guys have fun repairing this, by the way. See you later. And that takes us to chapter 14.
Can I just say, like, I loved the part where we were running around the catwalks.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
the Titan is just, like, moving. Like, the size of the Titan. With that being said, it gave me a little bit of the Doom Eternal, or like the Doom game 2016, where like you see this dope machine and you want to like be in it longer. Because like I hopped on and we shot it and I was like, oh, I want to see more of this. Like I want to be in this.
The only difference is that in the Doom thing, that giant mech is piloted by one person, and
Sure.
in this is piloted by
By a
like
bunch.
hundreds.
Alex,
So
I had to
it's-
remind myself of that many times. Like, man, I can't wait to get in this. I'm like, oh wait, Christian said it takes like 100 people to man this thing. Like,
Yeah,
they're
and
not
you're
gonna let
talking
me
to the
in
whole
it.
crew
Oh,
that they're in there.
man.
Yeah, like it wouldn't be what you want. It's not
I
not
want to
like
drive
that.
the mech though. It's really cool looking.
I know.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
But
would be-
it was well done. Like the size
sure.
of the scale is like it was walking
Yeah.
and you're like shooting around the catwalks and trying to get to it. It was cool.
Yeah. But that leads us to chapter 14, where we open with a discussion on how we're going to get out of all of this mess with the heretics still obviously being all over the planet, even though their invasion has been stopped. And Leandros decides that he's going to open his mouth again, and he thinks the best idea is to reach out, wait for the Inquisition, and then once they have gotten here, they will reach the planet with the rest of the Liberation Fleet. And Titus says this is a stupid plan because the Inquisition is what got us into this mess in the first place, and they've already fucked us up. And so he's going to have Sidonis fly the power source to the Ultramarine battleship, and it can be locked away permanently on another world while we thin out the Chaos Marines here, and eventually we will have taken over the planet and we'll be good to go. And as we are going to meet up with Sidonis on the landing pad to continue the handoff to have it, go with that plan, Nemeroth shows up and cuts him in half. Cuts Sidonis in half, and it like real brutal like. And he takes the power source, and as we start to resist him, even when he's trying to push more, he claims that the only way that it could be possible is that we have some sort of deep connection to the warp. And he asks if we're gonna, make the join to the Chaos Marine side soon. And then warps out and see you later. We swear vengeance, and we wait for Lieutenant Mira to show up. And she has a new plan to stop and help us kill Nemeroth before he's able to transform into the Demon Prince, or a Demon Prince, I should say, with the power source there.
He also looks cool as hell before any sort of transformation, so I don't know why you felt like you needed a transform. Like, you look pretty dope.
More power, man.
Cool,
Just
I
gotta
guess.
keep going. And Leandros decides to whine again that it's basically a suicide mission and that we're going to be helping the enemy. And even Lieutenant Mira, who is a regular human, by the way, and has no sort of bearing like against the Space Marine whatsoever, she even tells him to shut up in this scene. And to get on board. And chapter 15 kicks off from there. So we start making our way to the Orbital Spire, where Nemeroth is currently making his preparations at. And along the way, we get one of the Ultramarine chapters on the Thunderhawk to agree to take us to the Spire. And we also meet the Blood Ravens chapter here, which is sick. So Blood Ravens show up, so the all red Space Marines. And they help us basically fight all the way. It's just the massive battle section that takes us all the way to chapter 16. I just want to give a special shout out to this part because this was like you're like, well, what's happening here? And they're like, yeah, the Blood Ravens are here, and here's another Ultramarine chapter from the Thunderhawk. They're here, and everybody's like fighting and doing, and all the enemies are just getting stomped out because it's just a fucking army of Space Marines that is fighting, which was really fucking cool. And then so 16 opens, and this chapter opens up with a jump pack and us having the jump pack and the Thunderhammer. Yes. And you are just like, it's the note I have here is this chapter opens up with us having a jump pack and the Thunderhammer to bring the Emperor's justice to these demons. But we basically tell the Thunderhawk, like, hey, go ahead and get out of here. I got this. I'm gonna solo all these fucking losers. And we basically go all the way up the spire completely alone. And we get basically all the way to the center to reach the main elevator, and then that leads us all the way back up to the top of the spire where Nemeroth is at, and that takes us to our final confrontation with Nemeroth, and that's literally just chapter 17 is, the first half of this fight is dealing with waves of demons while shooting at Nemeroth in the back, and...
I could not imagine. I had this thought while playing it. I think it took me twice to do that part with all the waves, right? Because it's a lot. Like it is. I personally don't love the hammer. I really like the axe and the sword because they're just faster.
Sure.
But I was thinking
you get an opportunity to switch to. Like they have it at like checkpoints. Like you can switch to those different weapons.
But in that fight specifically, the only thing that going through my head is I could not imagine the difficulty of doing that on hard mode. Because
sure.
I played this game on normal, and there were parts where like I had to try it 3-4 times and so on. And like this game on hard mode, but especially this boss fight on hard mode, of just wave after wave, like holy crap.
Throws so much at you.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, so you're fighting through there. I think earlier in the mission you were able to, I believe, I don't remember, but I think this was one where you could have found the laser rifle again. And that, if you are just, as long as you refill ammo at the little ammo station, it smokes every single Chaos Marine that shows up, and you just can one-shot them basically.
Anytime that shows up, I get it. Like that's just the one where it's like I have to have this. It just does so much fucking
much
power.
Damage. Yeah, it's great. But then in the middle, after you finish the waves part, you basically charge Nemeroth right off the side, and this becomes just a QTE spectacle fight for the rest of this. And it goes with you're basically fighting him as he's transformed into a demon, and you're fighting him as you guys are falling through the sky, and it ends with you crushing his head with your hands, which is cool as hell.
I wouldn't call it much of a fight. You were just punching him in the face.
Repeatedly is all shit out of him. Yeah, it was great. And that leads us to the epilogue, right? So the epilogue is we land, and Mira basically was like, not only did you save the planet, but like look, like you've done it. Like you survived. You got everything. And as we come off the ship after our battle, who do we see but the Inquisition with Leandros, who basically said, "I'm 100% sure he's been touched by heresy and is a heretic."
Yeah.
And we basically go fuck yourself. That's not true. And everybody tries to defend him. And they basically say, if you don't come with us, you know what that means. You'll be branded a traitor and your whole company will be killed. So it's up to you. What do you want to do? Titus, being the stand-up guy that he is, he says, fine. And he lets himself be interrogated so that we don't bring shame and everybody and death to over. But we do make sure, right before we leave, to tell Leandros that he's a fucking piece of shit, because that's what he is. And then the game ends. And I will say, because we've been talking about it playing in Preston, you've seen the intro now for it. That cliffhanger is what leads into Space Marine 2. So there is, I think, 200 years between that ending and the beginning of Space Marine 2. So for almost, I believe the beginning of Space Marine 2 says that for almost 200 years, Titus was in Inquisition custody being tortured and questioned, and then Space Marine 2 happens. I won't spoil anything from there.
So lore expert Christian, our lore go-to expert here.
Still not that.
are these people immortal, or were they like a cold storage sort of thing? Like 200 years is beyond a normal lifetime, so
They're also a 9 foot tall superhuman that's 8 times the size of a normal person.
well,
that
typically bigger things die sooner. Dogs.
Yeah, that's
like,
not how that goes with super cyber future things.
So
Like
that's what I'm asking. Like, are they immortal?
I don't know that they're effectively immortal, but I know that their lifespan is increased by a lot.
Okay.
I can I'll look this up while you guys talk about your feelings on the game.
Well, I would say first, like to say that it was really nice being able to beat Space Marine 1, and then the next day for me, Space Marine 2 came out. So I didn't have to wait the 10 plus years that Christian had to wait for the continuation of this story. I'm like, oh, let's mosey on into Space Marine 2. I kept thinking to myself, like, man, people who are fans of Space Marine had to wait this long for the continuation of this story. I'm like, that sucks. But it is what it is. Really enjoyed the game.
They're like Aragorn, by the way, Alex.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So
Like the Numenor, just live a long time.
just a little longer. The wizard, the flying enemies, like right at the end of that,
Yep.
the mech,
The Chaos Witches
yeah.
or Wizards, yeah.
biggest pain in the fucking ass. Like, luckily I had that laser rifle. I'm like, man, if I didn't have that laser rifle,
Same.
I would have been so pissed off at this game right now because it was just so hard to take them out. I'm trying to hit them while they're like three or four of them are like throwing shit at you, and it's just it was a whole to do. But yeah, that last section probably took that, and the final boss encounter probably took me the longest out of all of this in the game, just because they're just like Alex said, they throw so much at you. But it's for the feel of the 40K, right? It's like if it was just you against one other dude, it wouldn't feel like 40K. It needs to be a lot more than that. So, yeah,
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
really enjoyed the game. I would say if I were to give it a rating, I would probably go for like a 3.5. I would say 3.5 just because it runs really well. I didn't have any problems with it at all. It does what it sets out to do. The scale in it is fucking fantastic, and for the time, it's good graphics. It still looks fine now, especially with this remaster. So it's a good game. It's good. It's a good one of those. If you're into Warhammer at all, as far as 40K style, if you think Space Marines are really fucking cool, you should give this game a try.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went with a 3.5 as well. I feel like it is a good, action-ish game. Like it does exactly what it sets out to do, and it does it well.
It doesn't overwhelm you with lore, because like Warhammer 40K has a lot of lore, but they don't overwhelm you with like just shoving all that shit in your face. It's like, okay, kind of focusing on orcs here. About halfway to 3/4 of the way through, we're more focusing on chaos, but we're not really doing much with orcs after that. Other than that, we're not putting the 15 other races in this game or talking about them or anything like that. It's all on this one planet and it stays that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with everything you said. I enjoyed the game as a whole. I thought it was well done. I enjoyed the boss fight a lot, at least the final piece of it. Like I still think there are pieces of this game, due to age and due to when the game came out,
Sure.
that make it feel dated. I think is probably the word.
Sure.
Make it feel dated to me, like because it is, right, and like because they wanted to give you the value of the story they were telling. Like games today, you get to the spire, you might rush a quick fight, and like the spectacle is the boss fight. And this one, honestly, leading up to the boss fight in that final stage was more of a spectacle than the boss fight itself. Because the boss fight, you get the opportunity to celebrate and you're just punching, right? But like they guard it by the waves and then by the tight corridors with all of those chaos witches and everything, which is fine, but also a little tedious sometimes. So I think if when I was thinking about rating it coming into this, I thought 3.5 was fair. So it's cool to know that we're kind of on the same page there. I think the story was good. I agree. It was a nice way to bring somebody into the world of Warhammer that doesn't know it, so it wasn't just like over your head. You didn't have to have a lot of knowledge. I thought it succeeded in what it set out to do. I thought the world building was really, really good. While I would have liked to see more of the world building, right? Again, age, like the huge spires, the huge cathedrals, that like huge gothic look was really cool. And the huge like mechanical Gothic, if you will, with the Titan and everything else. I think they nailed all of that. The only thing that held it back for me were the things that made it feel dated, and that just is what it is. And with that also came the same things that hold other games back for me, like old God of War, which is like the
Just throwing hordes
beat
people.
QTE,
Yeah.
right? Beat QTE, like that sort of thing. Doesn't take away from the story or anything, but like it's just the age and the time it came out. So 3.5.
Yeah, I think it definitely it sets out what it wants you to do. You come away thinking one thing. You're like, or two things. You're like, Leandro sucks and Space Marines are cool.
Yeah, I think it did. It did. Like, if their goal here was to open this up to a wider audience on 360 when it came out to like the World of Warhammer, I think it did that because it planted pieces of lore. And it planted these bad guys that were pretty cool. The Inquisition that was cool, and like the Blood Ravens, all that stuff. Like, it did a good job at saying, "Hey, go out and check out more of this world."
Pulled
And
your
I think it's
interest.
evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's evidenced by me. Like, I've watched a ton of lore videos since then, and like I started Rogue Trader and stuff. So like, it succeeded in that part, which I'm sure was their bigger goal too.
Yeah.
So, good
Definitely
for them
didn't
in
overstay
that.
its welcome either. It's just like what
No.
a 6 to 8 hour
No.
game. Like, it's like not going to be over
Yeah.
10 hours. And it's just even
Yeah.
though some of that stuff can be mundane, it didn't run it into the dirt. It didn't make you go, "I'm
Yeah.
really fucking tired of this." Like, another one of these. Okay, all right, no, it's it
The,
did what it
the
needed to
only
do.
the only time I thought another one of these is when I would run down a hallway to be like, "Am I going the right way?" And I would find a little servo skull and I'd be like, "Let me tell you about this mechanic." I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care about this mechanic. I now need to
Yeah.
go back the other way. Cool. All right, so that was Space Marine. I'll have to watch the intro of 2 because I think I've seen between Christian, you playing, and between Pirate Software and other thing, I think I've seen the entire game. It looks
Probably.
gorgeous, but I need to
Christian.
watch the intro.
Now that you've finished 2, what would you give it out of a 5 to kind of like? Because that's obviously, I personally think that 2 is obviously a much more improved game. It's many years later. It's got more stuff in it. It's got more gameplay mechanics. Like, and it obviously it looks incredible.
The
Would
world
you-
feels lived in.
Yeah. What would you give the new one, Space Marine 2, that just
Space
came
Marine
out?
2. I think
Out of 5.
you'll have to double check me on GG. I think I rated it a 4.5.
4.5. Okay.
Yeah, I have
Well, there's a 0.5 out of
Really-
it. So what would you say would be the
the
only
honestly
detriment?
the only really nitpicks that I have is that I think the story is just sort of more or less predictable.
Okay.
Like it follows a like when things happen in that story. I don't want to spoil it because it is really new. But when things happen in that story, you go, yep, like that's
I can see it going
that's
there.
Space Marine.
Yeah.
There
There's
wasn't the
one-
Chaos Marine twist that the first game had. Is that what you're saying? Like, there's something big.
No. So that's actually the point is that it does do that. Yeah, like you
okay.
you are fighting the Tyranids all the way up until you're not, and then you're fighting the Chaos Marines because of course you are, because you have to. And there's, with the exception of a single twist that happens at the very end, that's like a story related thing where you're like, oh, like that's cool. That could be the basis for something.
So, you're Mr. Lore expert. Do you have, like, you say you have to, and I know you say it jokingly, but do you have to? Because there are, like, a ton of factions here, right? And, like, even in the video you showed me, there's some, like, cool shit going on,
Yeah.
right? So, like, do you
Well, so
have
there's
to
tons of
always-
factions, and not only are there tons of factions, but even in this game, like when you go to do the multiplayer stuff, you can unlock all of these things for all the different chapters of Space Marines and all this other stuff. But yeah, enemy factions and just factions in general. I think for a Space Marine game, yes.
Okay.
I think that you do have to. You have an enemy, right? Like you have to have the main, an enemy faction that you're fighting. And then inevitably, because it's Space Marines, they're always going to find themselves finding heresy, and they're always going to have to stomp it out because
So their heresy specifically has to do with chaos, and not maybe some whatever else.
yeah, well, and chaos is just basically more or less anything that comes from the warp, right?
Right,
So like,
right.
yeah, so heresy specifically is delving too far into warp magic or warp related things that bring out the arch enemy, which is chaos. So
And since that is why that heresy is kind of narrow in that's why you typically find yourself fighting specifically Chaos Marine.
Yes.
Okay. That
And
makes sense.
and
Look at you.
and they
See, you
believe
shake your head saying you're not the lore expert here, but clearly you are.
I'm not, because that is just the most basic understanding of Warhammer at all. But so I think that's why it's like I got finished with it and I was like, I really enjoyed my time with this, and it's extremely well made, and from a gameplay perspective, there is not anything that I would change. Like, everything feels good to play. And the PC version supports the DualSense controller, and so the DualSense does like all the trigger stuff, like everything that you would want it to do, which is really fun. But yeah, I think that at the end of the day, it's just it is predictable. It is, you know what you're getting into. I think, let me double check, because I think I might have given it a 4 because of that, which I still think is fair. Sure. But let me double check here. I rated it. No, 4.5. Yeah, which I still think is fair. Yeah, I think it is a hell of a lot better than the first game by every measurement. But the campaign is one of those things where you do it like a character will suggest something to like solve a problem, and you go, "Yep, that sounds like something we do in this game. Let's do it." Like, yeah, you're just right in it, and you go. And the coolest thing about it is just when it's and Preston, you've seen this since we've done some of the missions. It's the spectacle inside the missions. Like, so these are the devs, Alex, I told you this. These are the devs that did A Plague's Tale. And their swarm tech in that game is what is the basis for this game with the Tyranids. And man, it is in full display here that I'm just like, woo! You have outdone yourselves.
The last level we played pretty much had rat swarms in it that were just bullshit.
Yeah, and Preston's with like a flamethrower, and we're shooting stuff, and we're calling things out, and we're dodging these different things, and parrying people, and you're execute. Like, it all feels so good to play. It's just when it comes down to the story, it's very by the numbers, and that's kind of the only knock I can give it, really.
I mean,
but all the multiplayer stuff is so fun, and all of the customizing that you can do around your character and making it into the exact kind of Space Marine that you've always wanted. I saw someone make it
look like a Buzz Lightyear because of the color patterns that you can get and everything, and it's just got a beefy like space outfit. Yeah, it looked just like Buzz Lightyear.
I do think that the devs knew they had something special on their hands, because clearly they already had that 3-year roadmap, which is insane. It's not insane to have a 3-year roadmap. It's insane to come out before launch and say, here is our 3-year. Like, that's nuts. So I think they knew they had something special. On the plus side, for somebody like you, Christian, and Preston, you playing this too, it does seem like you won't have to wait another 10 years for good.
So here's the thing.
Nice.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Warhammer is like Dragon Ball in that they think that anybody who likes these games will just show up for whatever the next one is. Because don't forget, yes, it was that long between these two Space Marine games.
There are other Warhammer
20
games
in between.
Not even just Warhammer. Other Warhammer 40k games were coming out every couple of years.
Right.
And in Games Workshop's mind, they're like, but it's Warhammer 40k, so just show up. Like Bolt Gun technically does continue. It is the gap in between. It fills part of a gap in between Space Marine 1 and 2. Like, they expect you to just... Games Workshop is like, you'll just eat everything up, you hungry piggies, and we'll just give you whatever you want. And Dragon Ball's the same way. They just released... An example. They just released the final patch for Dragon Ball Fighter Z, which fixes a lot of the netcodes. It's perfect. We don't need to get into it, but I think that it's great that they did this. However, the next story under them releasing that patch is... Here is the full list of Sparking Zero's roster, even though these games could not be farther apart. Like, Sparking Zero is like a 3D arena. It's like it's continuing the Budokai games from PS2, and Dragon Ball FighterZ is a serious fighting game made by ArcSys. But they're like, no, but it's Dragon Ball though. Like, you want it, just go buy it and play it. And you're like, yeah, but it's not what I want.
It's got Goku in it. Shut up.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like, that's how they feel, and that's how Games Workshop feels about Warhammer. Is that so? We do have this roadmap. We will be getting a lot of content for it, but whenever that's done, it could very well be another 10 years till
think
Space Marine 3. And Games Workshop would go, yeah, but we're releasing other 40K stuff. Go play that. You're like, yeah, but I don't want that. And they're like, yeah, but what do you mean? It's Warhammer 40K. Go pay for it. You already pay us $115 for little plastic miniatures that you have to paint yourself. So why are you being picky and choosy about what games we give you? Just go play it.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I would be interested to see. Look, I maybe this content exists, but I would be interested to see other content like an Arcane style show. Maybe the short, honestly, maybe this anthology short that's about to happen, highlighting Space Marines, like could lead to something like that. But like, if I don't have the time, or maybe like the gameplay isn't something that I know I'm going to play all the time, I may not pick up the game. But like, I you've caught me on the lore, right? Like, I want to see different mediums for this lore.
Yeah, let me just end that for you right there. So Games Workshop has heard you. They do actually have their own streaming service for TV shows that you can go watch. Yeah, they're not going to give that no. You will go watch whatever they put out, and from what I understand, most of it is bad.
I'm sure.
But you will go watch that, and unless somebody gives them a big check to go do, like, I'm sure Netflix, like,
hey, there was the Henry Cavill rumor a while back. He was working on a 40K project.
Yeah, he is. And who's producing that show?
Netflix or him? I don't know. Like, what?
No.
Oh, it's Games Workshop doing it?
No. It's Amazon, one of the richest companies in the world.
Amazon's doing it. Okay.
I'm not. So yeah, I guarantee you there is going to be a Warhammer show from Amazon. It's because they're the only company that could pay Games Workshop enough to let them do it.
That's fair. So the anthology series isn't because Games Workshop is protective. It's because that's all they could afford was a 10-minute short worth of content for licensing.
I bet that's what it is. Like, no shit. Because a good Warhammer thing would print money.
Yeah.
But Games Workshop is so fucking stupid that they're like, no, it's our money to print. So no one's going to be making money unless we're making money. Like, it's just, and they'll lock it down. They don't give a shit.
Amazing. All right, well, that was Space Marine.
Yeah.
Yeah, good game. So I guess it's my turn. We are going to talk about... Yeah, I'll just tell you what we're going to do. So I was going back and forth until earlier of what game I wanted to pick, but I've decided on one in... because now is the time of remakes, right, and everything's being remade, there is one series that a company like Ubisoft just refuses to touch. And I know they kind of said, like, we did touch it, and will I give you a new game? And it's like, oh, the original, but it's not what people wanted. And this year, this game turns 20 years old. In fact, like, in a month, it turns 20 years old. So we are going to be playing Prince of Persia, The Warrior Within.
Okay, all right.
Can I just say, this... I'm just going to press the install button now. This game turning 20 years old really doesn't feel good.
Yep.
It really doesn't feel good, because I specifically remember going to GameStop, buying this game and playing it. I remember, like, my bedroom layout when I was playing this game. I remember everything about the...
Yeah, it
that
sucks.
Is unfortunate.
Yep, sucks real bad. I actually didn't know it was 20 years until I looked it up a little bit ago, and I was just like, oh, that. Yeah, that hurts.
Woof.
Yikes.
So I remember the friends that I played this game with. Like, I remember it all. So we
Dude,
will...
Some of these character designs, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so... I know. They tried to go almost like an FMV with the girl character in this one for some weird reason, like make her look more realistic than even the prince does in this one. So, I was having trouble finding, like, there's no real chapters or anything. It doesn't seem like there's a great way to keep track of this. The best thing I've seen is when you get save points is when you will notice the title changes of the save point. So, unfortunately... GameFAQ titles this is we're going to play up to part 4. But really what you're looking for is you're going to stop. I don't know what this is going to be called. It's either going to be called Central Tower or Central Hall, or it's going to be called Activating the Mechanical Tower.
Okay.
It shouldn't be long to get there, probably an hour and a half or two. But like there are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's going to be about 20 save points between the start of the game and this point, right? So, like, you're going to see a lot of different change names and wondering, like, when is this coming? Just play until you get to...
One of those two names?
Yeah, either activating the mechanical tower or central hall. And then we'll judge the time off of that. I looked at a Let's Play. The problem is, like, most people say this game can be beaten, like, 10 to 12 hours. But, like, all the Let's Plays are, like, 6 hours. So
if you know what you're doing, you probably make it 8 hours. If you don't,
so I don't know how
10,
long this is going to play. So we're going to judge it off of this. If it's long, we're going to cut it down. But that's what we're playing to this time.
Okay.
So, all right.
Excited.
So that is that, everybody. Yeah, it's
So
a long time.
there's also, Preston, do we want to talk about the format change with this one now?
So yeah, we're thinking about doing this format change. We're going to try to do it with this game to where I've heard from a couple people and listeners. We've kind of fallen off the podcast because we went from topics to the video game book club. When we do a side quest, all the numbers are there. Because that's our topic-based kind of name for our show now. But people don't realize that we still do chit-chat. I mean, this podcast is around an hour and 50 minutes long. Around an hour, a little over an hour of that is us bullshit and having fun talking about our weeks, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what a lot of people like to listen to. So we're going to start chopping it up to where we're going to do first half of the week, we're going to do our weeks. And then the second half of it, where we do the video game book club, is going to be its own like podcast episode or its own video, whatever you want to call it. So that way people know what they're going to get into. If you just want to hang out with us and talk about video games just randomly, you can go into the show. I don't know what the name of the show is going to be called yet, but
maybe we could even still do maybe we could still do side quests, right? Like it'll be either whatever's happening currently, like if some current story drops and we want to chat about it, or
we'll workshop the name. We'll see what we got.
Topic. Yeah,
essentially,
it's nice too because, and on like YouTube, if you go to YouTube or whatever, you can have playlists, right? So if you want to check out all the video game book club, you can have that playlist. If you just want to do the side quests or what have you, you can do that one. But it'll make it easier, and it should make it easier for those people that have trouble dedicating 2 hours to a podcast. I get it.
Exactly. I totally get it too. And also, like, people see it, they say video game book club Space Marine. If they don't give a shit about Space Marine, they're not going to listen to the podcast because they don't realize that we do the whole weekly thing in the front of it too that they can enjoy. So it's just making it more clear on what these videos are, and to kind of also bring that down. I'll still be releasing as podcast format. It'll still be Monday releases for the first thing, which will be the weekly kind of talk, the kind of chit chat, and then we'll have later on that week. I'll figure out what day of the week, probably Friday. To just drop down the video game book club that we'll do. So
cool.
And that kind of coincides with if we do a side quest, we'll still split it up. The topic will be later on the week, and then we'll have the weekly stuff at the beginning. So keep an eye out for that. If you're sitting here like, what happened to the video game book club? Just know it's going to come later on the week, and then it'll just be there. You'll see what's happening when we get there.
Cool. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. We will see you back next week. And I am going to go eat some corn dogs. So with that, veggie corn dogs, by the way.
No, well, figures, yeah.
Plant-based, yeah. So not, yeah. So anyway, Preston, with that, you know what to do.
Corn dog.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If watching is more your thing, check out youtube.com/thetestingroom or Twitch TV/testingroompod. To leave comments and ask questions, follow us on Instagram @testingroompod and email us at testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.